It's been 20 years since the end of apartheid. Nelson Mandela's party, the African National Congress, or ANC, has governed South Africa the entire time. But South Africans head to the polls this week with the ANC under pressure. Party leader Jacob Zuma has been fighting corruption allegations, but still hopes to win a second term as president. And the so-called born frees, the generation born after apartheid, will be voting for the first time. Well, joining me now is CCTV correspondent Fahmida Miller. She joins us from Johannesburg. And Fahmida, we've just had the big final election rallies take place around the country in South Africa. How did they go off?
That's right, and those election rallies were held during the course of the day on Sunday, 24 hours before voting actually began, special votes, and there's about 400,000 of those happening on Monday and Tuesday in South Africa. So the last of the election rallies held on Sunday. The ANC had its large, massive one at the FNB Stadium just outside of Soweto. This is, if you remember, the same place where Nelson Mandela's memorial was held. And if you remember back to when that happened, Jacob Zuma was booed by many of the people there. This time, a slightly different scenario, a lot of cheers for the president. And what's interesting to note is that, according to media reports here, is that security was put in place to ensure that the event would go smoothly and that there wouldn't be the same occurrence of those type of jeers from the crowd there. About 100,000 people at that venue inside as well as outside the FNB Stadium. And then also not too far away at the Walter Sisulu Park, there was also a campaign rally held by the opposition, the Democratic Alliance. Far fewer people, but also a very busy event, one that the DA says went very well ahead of elections on Wednesday.
Right, and Fahmida, what are the major issues on which this election is being fought?
Well, Anand, one of the areas being focused on is jobs and job creation. That's a major issue going towards this election. Now, Statistics South Africa's just today released the latest figures on employment in South Africa, and they say the unemployment rate is up by 1.1 percentage points to 25.2% from the fourth quarter of last year to the first quarter of this year. Now, the opposition, the Democratic Alliance, says they'll create 6 million jobs. So that's a major issue that people are looking for some hope and some idea of where they're going in terms of creating jobs. You must also remember that the mining sector in South Africa has been negatively impacted by ongoing strike action, and that's seen millions of rand lost every day. And miners protesting for better wages, and there's also the issue of school leavers and those who've just graduated looking for employment. And of course, one of the other major issues is service delivery. That's a major concern. Just today, to give you an idea of just how concerned people are, in Gugulethu in the Western Cape, there was another service delivery protest, people wanting water, electricity, and what they did is they torched one of the Electoral Commission's tents in the area, demanding that the municipality address their concerns. They also threatened to loot shops, and that's all very much around service delivery and what the needs of the people are in various communities.
Right. Well, we know that the ANC has dominated politics in South Africa since apartheid ended, but what is the composition of the current South African parliament, and what kind of changes are we expecting after this election?
Well, in the 2009 election, the ruling party, the ANC, of course, just managed to get that two-thirds majority with 65.9% of the vote. And this is especially important because if any changes want to be made to the constitution, they do need that two-thirds majority. Now, the latest survey that's come out just before the weekend predicts that, yes, Jacob Zuma will secure his second term in office, but the ANC may not see that two-thirds majority that they so desperately want. Looking before the weekend, Jacob Zuma also addressed a rally in East London where he had said that ANC love for ANC is growing, and that may not necessarily be the case if the predictions by the survey are in fact correct. The survey indicates the ANC will get 63.9% of the vote. That's actually down from 2009, and it's also down from an earlier survey this year in March, and that was indicated as 66% support for the party. And if you look at what's happening with the DA, they're looking at support of 23.7%. And if that's the case, this would be the most growth of any political party in South Africa.
Now, this is also the first election in which the so-called born-free generation will be voting. These are young people who, of course, were born after the end of apartheid. Is there a great deal of interest among young people in this election?
Well, and I'm going around, I've been in Johannesburg predominantly, and going around the city and talking to people of different age groups, you do very much see a lot of people over a certain age, people who lived under apartheid, having a certain loyalty towards the ANC despite any of the difficulties they may be facing now with regard to jobs and service delivery. So there is that support of the ANC coming from an older age group. Looking at the Born Frees, they don't really have an attachment to what the ANC did in terms of being a liberation movement. They are looking for jobs, they're looking for education opportunities, and they very much are going towards whoever can provide that. And one of the surveys that's come out in the last 6 months indicates that only 34% of people between the ages of 18 and 19, those who will vote for the first time in 2014, only 34% have registered to vote in this coming election. So many do think that many of those Born Frees will in fact shun the coming election. They say politicians can't be trusted, and they're just looking for what will serve them best. And if what's on the current political environment doesn't serve them, they really can't be bothered.
Thanks, Fahmida. Fahmida Miller there reporting from Johannesburg.